welcome. You are watching India Today's SoSouth. So yesterday, Home Minister Amit Shah told the Lok Sabha that the government will try to implement the Nari Shakti Vandan Act by the time of the 2029 general election. He was responding to demands from the opposition that the 33% reservation for women in Lok Sabha and state assemblies be implemented forthwith for the 2024 election itself. Explaining why that is legally and constitutionally impossible, Amit Shah said this.
हालांकि बहुत मुझे अच्छा लगा, सबको मैंने सुना है, सबने समर्थन करने का अपने भाषणों के अंदर वादा किया है, परंतु सोशल मीडिया में कुछ लोग भूमिका बना रहे हैं कि भाई इस विधेयक को इसलिए समर्थन न करो कि इसमें डिलिमिटेशन कमीशन का है और अभी के चुनाव में नहीं होगा। कुछ लोग कह रहे हैं इसमें ओबीसी आरक्षण नहीं है, मुस्लिम आरक्षण नहीं, इसलिए समर्थन न करो। मैं अलग कहता हूं, अब समर्थन नहीं करोगे तो क्या जल्दी आरक्षण आ जाएगा? तो भी 29 के बाद आएगा। समर्थन कर दो, गारंटी हो गई, फिर जो सरकार आएगी उसमें जो बदलाव करेगी वो भी होगा। एक बार श्री गणेश तो करो, गणेश चतुर्थी के दिन ये संविधान संशोधन विधेयक आया।
So is Amit Shah right, or is the Modi government making excuses for not implementing it immediately? Did they bring it up only as sop to women voters for the 2024 election to be forgotten after that narrow purpose is solved? Or was it another diversionary tactic as the opposition is alleging? Is the Modi government serious on women's reservation? So to answer all these questions and more, I'm going to turn to B.V. Rao, our editor. Sir, welcome to the show. First things first, is Amit Shah right when he says the constitution does not allow the quota to be implemented for the 2024 election?
Yeah, some might say that the devil is quoting from the scriptures. But yes, Amit Shah is right. Reservation cannot be implemented for the upcoming Lok Sabha elections for one simple constitutional reason. It is the government's job to make laws for reservations of seats through parliament. But once that is done, the government passes the baton to the Delimitation Commission to implement the reservation. It is the constitutionally mandated job of this Delimitation Commission, not the government, mind you, to decide which one third of the Lok Sabha seats will be reserved for women and how they will rotate in subsequent elections. Right? So yes, the short answer is Amit Shah is right.
So sir, what do you think is the road ahead now?
See, it's simple. Everything is mandated in the constitution. The government's duty is now to appoint the Delimitation Commission to take the reservation process forward. Once the commission is set up, the process can take up to 3 to 4 years. That is why this act cannot be implemented immediately. People might want it, but it is not possible. The constitution doesn't allow it. The opposition parties also know this, but it is politically expedient for them to plant a doubt in people's mind that Modi government has no intention actually of implementing the policy. That is politics. They're entitled to their politics in this. This is more a ploy. This is not a ploy, or let me rephrase that. The opposition says that this is a ploy by Modi to woo women voters for the 2024 election. Well, as I said, they're entitled to their political grandstanding, but that is what it is.
Okay. So sir, from what you are saying, I gather that the next Lok Sabha, the 18th, will not see 180 women members. But will the 19th Lok Sabha, the one that will come into force in 2029, see the full force of the women?
Possible, but there are riders. Amit Shah has very confidently assured the Lok Sabha that the Modi government does what it promises, which is basically that's a kind of a promise that in 2029 general election, the parliament would be ready to for the intake of many more women. Mind you, in 2029, if delimitation exercise which has been stalled for 50 years, that takes place, it might not be just 180 women in parliament, because the parliament itself will grow from 543 to maybe 800. So it depends on what will be the size of the Lok Sabha for the 2029 election. And depending upon that, 1/3 of it will be for women in the parliament. So 2029 Parliament might actually see many, many more women than 180, which is what it is if the Parliament remains at 543. So I refer to some riders and impediments. So to explain to you what those impediments are, a brief background is necessary. In 2021, sorry, this is going to be a long answer, by the way, Afrin.
Yes,
Try
sir. Go
not to
on,
sleep.
please.
Yeah. In in 2001, Parliament passed the 84th Amendment Act. This act had two important elements to it. Element one is that it mandated that the process of delimitation would not be taken up till 2026. Delimitation, just for our understanding, delimitation is the periodic process of readjusting boundaries of the Lok Sabha and Assembly constituencies. In effect, what this element of the 84th Amendment in effect said was that it froze the parliamentary seats at 543 till 2026. Right. Now, readjustment or delimitation is umbilically linked to the decadal census, because because the changes are made based on the demography, the change in population, how the populations are moving, migration, all this comes into effect. So delimitation is tied by its umbilical cord to census. Now that leads us to the second important element of the 84th Amendment. That amendment clearly said that delimitation shall happen only, pay attention to this, only after the first census of India that is conducted after the year 2026. So all the census that's been conducted now will not be of use. A fresh census has to be conducted after 2026. The first census that is conducted after 2026 will be the one which will be the basis for delimitation in year 2026 or later. Right? That's understood?
Right,
So
sir.
only a census done after 2026 will bring delimitation out of its suspended animation, so to say.
Right.
So it is this constitutional mandate that is casting doubts on Amit Shah's assurance of effecting the quota in 2029. So yeah, that's what it is. That's where the doubts have arisen.
Right, sir. So, okay, I get it that 2024 is ruled out. But what some people are saying that even 2029 is not possible. Actually, Yogendra Yadav has said it is not possible till 2039. So, what is the reasoning there, sir?
Yogendra Yadav has a point, but before we discuss why he's saying that, we need to know a bit more about the census exercise. The Census of India is normally conducted every 10 years. The last census was conducted in 2011, as we all know. The 2021 census, which should have been conducted, was delayed because of COVID. The government has now indicated it's not given any reasons why it was delayed after COVID. After all, we are 2 years beyond the COVID scare, after the COVID scare. So the government has now indicated that it might take up the exercise after the 2024 general election.
Right.
But then note that the next regular decadal census is due only in 2031. Right.
Right.
So if you put that two and two together, the delimitation can happen only after the first census post 2026. So if the first census post 2026 is supposed to be 2031, then how will delimitation happen, and how will women get elected into 2029 Parliament? So that is the question. Right. So it's possible. For this reason, women's quota could even miss the 2029 election. But then, is that all it is? No, because if the census is held in 2031, after the census results are out, then a delimitation commission is formed. and then it will take at least 3 to 4 years to come up with its report.
Right.
So by that time, the deadline for 2034 election might also be missed. That is why Yogendra Yadav is saying that we might see women's reservation only in 2039. Yogendra Yadav is right. If you look at it in the normal course, that is, if the 17th census is held in 2031, then Yogendra Yadav is right. Women's quota might be a reality only in 2039.
Right, sir. So, what makes Amit Shah so confident that if his government is voted back to power in 2024, will they be able to implement women's reservation in 2029? If there is no census till 2031, how is it that that he is so confident that census and delimitation can be achieved before 2029?
Yeah, as I said, in the normal course, it is tough. But by now we know Modi and Shah can take or do things beyond the normal or around the normal, work their way around the normal, right? The Census Act of 1948 gives the government that elbow room to go beyond the normal. Clause 3 of the Act gives us a clue why the government is so confident. The clause says, you can read it, right? The central government may, by notification in the official gazette, declare its intention of taking a census in the whole or any part of the territories to which this act extends, whenever they may consider it necessary or desirable to do so, and thereupon the census shall be taken. Right? So it's the census is not mandatory. It is not mandatory for the government to conduct the census every 10 years. That is not what the Census Act says. The Census Act actually says something completely to the contrary. It says that, I highlight the point, whenever the center may consider it necessary or desirable, it can conduct a census. So 10 years is more convention. Over the last nearly 150 years or plus, census has been conducted every year. I think only in 1941 the census was conducted, but its results were not published. Even during 61 China war and 71 Pakistan war with Pakistan, the census exercise went on, right? So the first disruption happened only because of COVID. So this is basically a convention, right? It's a convention to hold it every 10 years. But the government need not hold it. There's nothing, there's no constitutional mandate on the government that you have to do it every 10 years.
Right.
So in effect, what that means is the 16th census, which is the COVID census, let's call it, right? If that is completed before 26, right? The government need not wait till 2031 to do the next census, or which is the 17th census. It can do it when it sees the need, like the Act says. So now, if they take up, let's say if this government takes up the census in 2024, right? Then the early and effective implementation of women's quota is let me rephrase that. If 2024, the 16th census is completed, right? Then you need a fresh census after 2026,
right,
to for delimitation to happen. So now, knowing that the center need not wait for another 10 years to conduct the 17th, it can do it whenever it wants, whenever it sees a valid reason, right, to do the next census. What better logic or valid reason could the government find than to say that we are advancing the 17th census from its normal schedule of 2031 to 2026, right? Because we want to implement the women's reservation. So that's a perfectly valid reason why and nobody can even oppose it because the opposition is saying do it today, right? So they can't then come around and say no, you can't do it now. Okay.
Right.
So the government has not said this. This is my surmise, but this is a constitutionally valid option before them.
Right,
What
sir.
adds to this option, edge to this option, is the digital age technology. 2021 census, which is delayed and which might now happen in 2024, will be the first digitally enabled census, which means faster assimilation of data, faster analysis, and faster publication. Right. So, if the 2024 census is a digitally enabled census, the 2026 one will actually be a faster, more efficient census.
Right.
So maybe it will give enough time for the Delimitation Commission, which will then be set up in 2026 to complete its delimitation exercise by 2029 elections. That it's pushing the what they call the deadline really to the extreme, but it is possible. Then government has another option too, by the way. It might even consider delaying the already delayed 2021 census. Instead of doing it in 2024, it could actually hold it in 2026 too. I don't know if they are going to exercise that option, but that option also exists.
Right, sir. So
Yeah, back to you.
you're saying is that if this government is voted back, it can implement the quota from 2029 elections. So what if a new government is formed in 2024? Will the implementation be put off till after the 2031 census?
Yeah. So if this government is elected, they've already expressed their desire to bring it into 2029, right? Will the opposition, let us say, if the only other option is the I.N.D.I.A alliance coming to power, right? So most unlikely that this alliance will be able to stop the bill. An alliance which today is crying itself hoarse, saying that Modi is given this lollipop, it's just a mirage, blah blah blah, and it wants it to be implemented right away, right now for this election. Then they will have no credibility if they are the ones who delayed beyond 2029. So look at how every political party embraced the bill and sought to take credit for it. Sonia Gandhi even called it our bill, right?
Right.
They even criticized Modi for not affecting the quota from 2024, right? All that. So the bottom line is this: whoever it is, whether it is a Modi-led government or I don't know whether Sonia-led government or Rahul-led government or whichever government it is, the threat to women's quota is not from the intent of political parties. I think the intent of every political party has strongly been what they call demonstrated yesterday in Lok Sabha, and today by end of day today it will be the same in the Rajya Sabha too. So it's not the intent of political parties.
Right.
There's one bigger risk to women's quota, and that is from the delimitation exercise itself. A big crisis is kind of developing, is in the works, is in the making, and this is the north-south divide over delimitation.
Right.
You know that well enough. Yeah, you
Yeah.
did a very nice video a month or two ago when new parliament building was being opened. You did a very nice video. Maybe you should mention that video also in this description, right?
Absolutely, sir.
So if the delimitation exercise begins in 2026, it will be the first one after nearly 50 years.
Right.
In these 50 years, look at what has happened to populations. The south, the states of the south of India have managed their population brilliantly, right? Whereas most northern states in the north of India have miserably failed in population control.
Yeah.
So the political equation or the political heft of the parties or the states in the north, which send the south sends, I think, about 129 seats out of 143. I think the north might have maybe 70 to 80%, if not more. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact figures, but the equation, the political equation of political heft is already skewed. And this new, if we were to follow only the population model for delimitation in 2026, that will skew it way beyond shape, right? So UP and Bihar alone could have nearly 220 seats or something, or even more, right? So I think that is the problem. If there is no formula, a political formula that is found to implement this delimitation in 2026 before the 2029 election, all this could end up in a court of law. And there you know what happens. It can take forever.
Right.
So that is the more real threat to the women reservation quota being implemented than the intent of political parties. The intent of political parties, I think we can say, in spite of all the political noise and blaming each other and all that happens, that intent has been very, very strongly demonstrated in Parliament. So if delimitation solution is found to the satisfaction of the states of the South India and even Maharashtra, actually, if that is done, then there is no threat to women's reservation being implemented in 2029. So that's it.
Right, sir. So it looks like it's a step-by-step process that the government has to figure out how to go about this. The announcement has been done, but it's like the ball is in their court and they have to formulate a strategy to go about it, sir.
This is not a chimera. This is not a mirage. This is a constitutional statute.
Right.
Everybody, every party is now bound by this. That is the significance of what is happening in Parliament, what happened yesterday and what is happening in Rajya Sabha today. So no escaping from the women's quota bill.
Right.
Thank you, Afrin.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank
It
you.
was very
Bye-bye.
insightful. This is Afrin Hussain and you are watching India Today SoSouth. For more such updates, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon.